Welcome to our channel. In today's video, we will delve into the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. Whether you're just starting your journey in education or looking to refine your teaching skills, this session will provide you with valuable insights and practical strategies to enhance your classroom experience. We'll cover key areas stipulated within the competency-based curriculum in Diploma Teacher Training Syllabus for Sociological and Philosophical Foundations of Education as certified by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. So, grab a notebook, get comfortable, and let's embark on this journey to becoming a more effective and inspiring educator. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest videos. Let's get started. The United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, UNCRC, is an international human rights treaty adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 1989. It is the most widely ratified human rights treaty in history, with 196 countries having ratified it as of 2021. The UNCRC outlines the fundamental human rights of children, defined as individuals under the age of 18. It sets out the rights of children to survival, protection, development, and participation, and it establishes the obligations of governments to respect, protect, and fulfill these rights. The UNCRC recognizes the importance of education as a fundamental right of every child, and it establishes the obligation of states to ensure that children receive an education that is free, compulsory, and of good quality. The Convention also sets out other rights related to education, such as the right to access to information, the right to be protected from discrimination, and the right to participate in decisions that affect them. The UNCRC has had a significant impact on national and international policies and laws related to children's rights, including education. It has helped to promote the development of inclusive and child-centered educational systems that provide equal opportunities for all children regardless of their background or circumstances. Overall, the UNCRC is a crucial tool for protecting and promoting the rights of children around the world, including their right to education, and it continues to guide governments, civil society organizations, and other stakeholders in their efforts to ensure that all children can reach their full potential. Next, let's apply the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child in schools. The United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, UNCRC, is a crucial international human rights treaty that recognizes the importance of education as a fundamental right of every child. As such, it has significant implications for how schools operate and how students are treated within the educational system. In this response, we will examine the UNCRC as applied in schools with a focus on its key provisions related to education. The UNCRC establishes the right of every child to education that is free, compulsory, and of good quality. This means that governments have an obligation to provide education that is accessible to all children without discrimination of any kind. This includes children from marginalized or disadvantaged backgrounds such as those with disabilities, those from low-income families, and those who are refugees or migrants. The Convention also recognizes the importance of inclusive education, which ensures that all students can participate fully in the educational process. Inclusive education means that schools should be equipped to provide education to children with disabilities and other special needs, and should take measures to prevent discrimination and promote equality of opportunity. The UNCRC also recognizes the importance of children's participation in decisions that affect their education. This means that schools should provide opportunities for students to express their views and participate in the decision-making process, particularly in matters that affect their education and well-being. Additionally, the UNCRC recognizes the right of children to be protected from all forms of violence, abuse, and exploitation, including within the educational setting. Schools have a responsibility to provide a safe and secure environment for students and to take measures to prevent and respond to any incidents of violence, bullying, or abuse. In conclusion, the UNCRC has significant implications for how schools operate and how students are treated within the educational system. It establishes the right of every child to education that is free, compulsory, and of good quality, and recognizes the importance of inclusive education, children's participation, and protection from violence and abuse. As such, it provides a framework for promoting the development and well-being of children within the educational system and for ensuring that they have access to the resources and opportunities they need to succeed in life. Having established that, let's evaluate the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child in relation to practice in schools. The United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, UNCRC, provides an important framework for ensuring that the rights of children are protected and promoted in the educational setting. However, the extent to which the UNCRC is applied in practice in schools can vary widely, and there are often gaps between what is mandated by the convention and what actually happens in schools. In this response, we will evaluate the UNCRC in relation to its application in practice in schools. One of the key provisions of the UNCRC is the right of every child to education that is free, compulsory, and of good quality. While many countries have made progress towards fulfilling this obligation, there are still significant challenges to ensuring that all children have access to quality education. For example, some schools may not have the resources to provide the necessary support to children with disabilities or special needs, or may not be able to provide education in the child's first language. The UNCRC also recognizes the importance of inclusive education, which ensures that all students can participate fully in the educational process. However, in practice there may be barriers to inclusion, such as lack of resources, insufficient training for teachers, or negative attitudes towards certain groups of students. Another important aspect of the UNCRC is the right of children to participate in decisions that affect their education. While some schools may have mechanisms for involving students in decision-making processes such as student councils or committees, in many cases the extent of student participation may be limited. The UNCRC also recognizes the importance of protecting children from all forms of violence, abuse, and exploitation, including within the educational setting. However, in practice there are often gaps in school policies and procedures for preventing and responding to incidents of violence or abuse, and many children may not feel safe or secure within the school environment. In conclusion, while the UNCRC provides an important framework for protecting and promoting the rights of children in schools, there are often gaps between what is mandated by the convention and what actually happens in practice. To ensure that the rights of children are fully respected and protected in schools, it is necessary to address these gaps through effective implementation and enforcement of laws and policies, as well as through ongoing efforts to raise awareness and promote a culture of respect for children's rights within the educational system. Pursuant to that, let's apply the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child in schools. The United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, UNCRC, provides a framework for ensuring that the rights of every child are respected and protected in schools. Applying the UNCRC in schools involves putting into practice the provisions outlined in the Convention. In this response, we will explore how the UNCRC can be applied in schools to promote and protect the rights of children. 1. Right to education. Schools should ensure that education is free, compulsory, and of good quality, and that it is accessible to all children without discrimination. This means that schools should take measures to remove barriers to education, such as ensuring that facilities are accessible for children with disabilities, providing resources to support children from low-income families, and offering language support for children who speak a language other than the language of instruction. 2. Inclusive education. Schools should provide education that is inclusive and promotes equal opportunities for all children regardless of their race, ethnicity, gender, disability, or other characteristic. This involves ensuring that all students are able to participate fully in the educational process, including through accommodations and support for children with disabilities or special needs. 3. Participation. Schools should involve children in decisions that affect their education and well-being. This includes providing opportunities for students to express their views and opinions and involving them in the decision-making process through mechanisms such as student councils, surveys, or focus groups. 4. Protection. Schools should provide a safe and secure environment for all children free from violence, abuse, and exploitation. This involves implementing policies and procedures to prevent and respond to incidents of bullying, harassment, or abuse, and ensuring that children are aware of their rights and how to report any concerns or incidents. 5. Promotion of the child's best interests. Schools should always act in the best interests of the child, taking into account their individual needs, interests, and well-being. This includes providing appropriate support and accommodations to ensure that every child can reach their full potential, and ensuring that their rights are respected and protected at all times. 6. Respect for the child's privacy. Schools should respect the privacy of every child, including their personal information and their right to a private life. This means that schools should have policies and procedures in place to protect children's personal information such as academic records, health records, and other sensitive data. It also means that schools should respect the child's right to privacy in their personal lives, such as their communication with friends and family, and should not engage in any form of surveillance or monitoring without a legitimate reason and appropriate safeguards. 7. Right to express themselves. Schools should respect the child's right to freedom of expression and ensure that they have the opportunity to express themselves freely without fear of censorship or retaliation. This includes respecting children's opinions, beliefs, and values and encouraging them to express themselves through a variety of mediums such as art, music, and writing. 8. Right to cultural identity. Schools should respect the child's right to their own cultural identity and provide education that is culturally sensitive and responsive. This means that schools should recognize and respect the diversity of their students and ensure that education is inclusive of different cultural backgrounds and perspectives. It also means that schools should provide support for students to learn about their own cultural heritage and traditions and to feel a sense of belonging and pride in their identity. 9. Right to play and recreation. Schools should recognize the importance of play and recreation for children's physical, social, and emotional well-being. This means that schools should provide opportunities for children to engage in play and recreation both within and outside of the classroom. It also means that schools should ensure that children have access to safe and appropriate play spaces and equipment and that they are encouraged to engage in physical activity and outdoor play. 10. Right to quality healthcare. Schools should ensure that children have access to quality healthcare services and support. This includes providing first aid and emergency care when necessary, as well as promoting healthy lifestyles and providing education on topics such as nutrition and hygiene. It also means that schools should have policies and procedures in place to support children with health conditions or disabilities and should work closely with healthcare providers and other support services to ensure that children's health needs are met. In conclusion, applying the UNCRC in schools involves promoting and protecting the rights of every child through policies, procedures, and practices that ensure that education is accessible, inclusive, participatory, protective, and focused on the best interests of the child. By doing so, schools can create a safe and supportive environment that fosters the development and well-being of all children and helps to prepare them for a successful and fulfilling future. Finally, let's appreciate the importance of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child in Education. The United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, UNCRC, is an international human rights treaty that sets out the civil, political, economic, social, and cultural rights of all children. The UNCRC recognizes that every child has the right to education and outlines the principles and standards that should guide education policy and practice to ensure that this right is realized. The UNCRC is important in education for the following reasons. 1. Promoting access to education. The UNCRC recognizes that education is a fundamental right of every child and calls on governments to ensure that education is accessible to all children without discrimination. This includes children from marginalized and vulnerable communities such as children with disabilities, children living in poverty, and children from ethnic and linguistic minority groups. By promoting access to education, the UNCRC helps to ensure that every child has the opportunity to reach their full potential. 2. Ensuring quality education. The UNCRC emphasizes the importance of providing quality education that meets the needs of every child and promotes their intellectual, social, and emotional development. This means that education should be inclusive, responsive to the cultural backgrounds of students, and focused on developing critical thinking, problem-solving, and other skills that will prepare children for a successful future. By ensuring quality education, the UNCRC helps to promote lifelong learning and the development of responsible, engaged citizens. 3. Protecting children's rights in education. The UNCRC recognizes that children have the right to be protected from all forms of violence, abuse, and exploitation, including in the context of education. This means that schools should be safe and secure environments where children can learn and grow without fear of harm or mistreatment. By protecting children's rights in education, the UNCRC helps to promote their physical and emotional well-being and supports their development as confident and resilient individuals. 4. Fostering participation and empowerment. The UNCRC recognizes that children have the right to participate in decisions that affect their lives, including decisions related to their education. This means that schools should involve children in the planning, implementation, and evaluation of education policies and programs and provide them with opportunities to express their views and opinions. By fostering participation and empowerment, the UNCRC helps to promote children's sense of agency and ownership over their education and supports their development as active and engaged citizens. 5. Respecting the rights of teachers and educators. The UNCRC also recognizes the rights of teachers and educators who play a critical role in providing quality education to children. Teachers and educators have the right to decent working conditions, professional development, and support from governments to ensure that they can effectively carry out their responsibilities. This means that governments should invest in the education sector to ensure that teachers and educators have access to the resources and tools they need to provide quality education. 6. Ensuring accountability and monitoring. The UNCRC recognizes the importance of accountability and monitoring to ensure that children's rights are being upheld in education. Governments are responsible for ensuring that the rights of every child are protected in education and should establish mechanisms for monitoring and reporting on the implementation of education policies and programs. This includes ensuring that schools are safe and inclusive, that teachers are adequately trained and supported, and that children have access to quality education. By ensuring accountability and monitoring, the UNCRC helps to promote transparency and effectiveness in education policy and practice. In conclusion, the UNCRC is an important framework for promoting and protecting the rights of every child in education. By emphasizing the importance of access, quality, protection, and participation, the UNCRC helps to ensure that education is a positive and empowering experience for every child and supports their development as responsible and engaged members of society. And that marks the end of our lesson. Thank you for joining us in this session. We hope that you found it valuable and helpful towards your diploma teacher training course. Remember, your role as an educator goes beyond imparting knowledge. You're shaping the future by empowering young minds. Stay committed to continuous learning and professional development. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more educational content, and feel free to leave your questions and comments below. See you in the next video.